I'm Tom Grossi, a New York City comedian and diehard Green Bay Packers fan for almost 20 years.
In the end zone, it is caught for the win. Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. A game ender for the Packers.
In 2015, I created a podcast where each week I talk to fans from opposing teams to share their story and to get yelled at for about an hour for being a Packers fan. Last year, I met amazing people and went to amazing places. And this year, I'm ready to do it all over again.
Make no mistake about it, I will be remembered as a Packer.
Enjoy the show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't need to be a Packers fan. But it sure does help. I mean, I guess. You know what? It doesn't really help this week. All right, let's talk about it. Packers lost to the Cowboys Sunday evening, 30-16, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. It was a sloppy game. It didn't look good for our offense. It didn't look good for our defense. And less than halfway through the game, I had to make the switch from beer to whiskey. So not good. Not good. But let's kind of break it down. We have a lot to talk about in today's show. So let's start off with the elephant in the room. With Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers goes 31 for 42, 294 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. He had a fumble as well. The Packers had a total of 4 turnovers. And the big news, of course, coming out of this game, and the news during the game, because the announcers just kept harping on, Rodgers doesn't look right. Rodgers is missing those throws. And Rodgers was missing a bunch of throws. There was one that was big to Rodgers. He threw behind him. The big one that I really saw was the one where he thought he had a free play. He throws the Cobb in the end zone and completely misses. That's an easy 7 points, and that completely changes the game. Considering the Packers only lose by 2 touchdowns. There's the 4th and 1 that we didn't go for, which I understand. I agree with that call. Go for the 2 field goals, then we go for it and miss it. The Packers offense just did not look in rhythm. This is a consistent complaint that we've been making, except for the Lions game, in which they looked really, really good in the first half. But even the stats from yesterday talking about how Rodgers hadn't thrown a touchdown in the second half all year so far. Not a really good statistic that you want. The big thing is, and Rodgers, watching this press conference, he doesn't know why he's off. There is something off. And I feel as fans, I don't know, does that make you feel better that he admits, like, there's something wrong with me? I don't know. That's rough. It's rough. We also, of course, we knew that going into this game with running back, it was going to be a problem. James Starks had a death in the family, also out with a knee injury, got surgery, not going to be back for a couple of weeks. Eddie Lacy has a bum ankle, so that's never a good thing as well. He did pretty good, though. I mean, 17 carries, 65 yards. He was hurdling people, and he looked really, really good. But, of course, he was on that sore ankle, so Ty Montgomery took in for halfback, and he looked actually pretty good. This was Montgomery's best game, and I think they'll use him a little bit more. He had a fumble, but they'll use him a bit more in the backfield, especially while James Starks is out. I don't agree with the whole idea of going back and getting a running back, because when Starks come back, he'll be a good number 2. Lacy just needs to get healthy. So the offense, I mean, I don't know what the problem is, honestly. Is that, I mean, even on the interception that Rodgers threw, he admitted in the press conference, he just didn't see the guy. And listen, it happens. You had Troy Aikman and Joe Buck talking about yesterday, the quarterbacks, they go through slumps and things like that. And maybe that's what this is. Like, maybe it's just a slump, and that we, as Packer fans, have been expecting this high-level play for such a long time that anytime he falters, it's like, what is wrong with you? But, I mean, you have to be confident that they're going to get it fixed, because if you're not confident, then that means that they're not going to win. And you don't really want that mindset going into this game. The Packers are 3-2, and they have the Bears game coming up on Thursday night, which hopefully will kind of erase any sour taste in our mouth by coming away with a win against the Bears. Talking about before we get to the Cowboys, our defense, a lot of people saying that the defense was exposed yesterday. We had the number one run defense statistically going into Sunday. And I think our run defense just got beat in that, the Cowboys offensive line is extremely, extremely good. Ezekiel Elliott is an extremely good player. The guy rushed for 157 yards. He's a bull. That we knew that this was going to be a test. We held him and that he didn't score any touchdowns, but he broke off some big runs. And 157 yards, if I'm not mistaken, that was more than we had let up for the first 4 games. So he was our first real test when it came to running back, and our defense definitely didn't pass it. But the secondary looking ugly. Cole Beasley kind of ran all over us, got 2 touchdowns on the day. Our 4th string secondary guy, Gunter, is our number 1 right now. You have Shields out, you have Rollins out, and you have Randall out. So that's bad in that we are literally playing with random guys in the backfield. And when you have a good team like the Cowboys coming into town, it's going to be difficult to win with them when you have your 4th string guy as your number 1 back. But that's neither here nor there. That is just an issue of you need to get healthy. I don't think from Thursday's game they were talking about not having Rollins. Shields probably won't be back either. So it's gonna be another tough game to try to compensate for not having really a backfield. Hopefully one that they'll be able to get back on track. But Dak Prescott, I was right about one thing in our podcast. He did throw his first interception against us. One was a fumble interception-y thing. And listen, this game was so close in the first half, except for the last drive. The Cowboys just marched down the field for 90 yards in 30 seconds. But this game could have just the Packers score on those first 3 attempts where they get down the run zone. They're up 21, and the Cowboys just were never really stopped though. And that they had some turnovers that were costly, and the Packers never really converted those into points or anything more than a field goal, except for the second half. So the offense really needs to get back on track, because if it doesn't, we're in really, really big trouble. Especially when you have the Vikings, who are still undefeated. They had a bye week this week, and they don't seem to be slowing down at all. When it gets into the Dak Prescott, Tony Romo thing, that was kind of the talk of the town on Sunday. I kind of agree that you don't pull Prescott out until it's absolutely necessary, until you see that rhythm is discontinued or he's, starting to make mistakes. He is a rookie, then you don't put Romo in. I mean, you take this as far as you possibly can. It's kind of like a Brock Osweiler thing, except reversed with Peyton Manning last year. Another big thing that came up over the weekend that we didn't get to talk about on the podcast, Brett Favre has a new book called Gunslinger. And speaking of Brett Favre, we unveiled his number. He got the Hall of Fame ring for the Packers, which was really nice. It was cool to see that. We really just can't win for Brett Favre, though. Last year with the Bears game, we blew that game at home, and then this one we just lost against the Cowboys. So Brett Favre coming back to Lambeau hasn't really been too beneficial in the past 2 years. But in the book, it was talking about how Rodgers came onto the Packers, and you kind of had this sense that they didn't get along. It's been reported before that Rodgers and Favre didn't get along. But the stuff, and I highly, highly recommend it. There is a excerpt that was released called No Love Lost. And it basically goes into the first thing that Aaron Rodgers says to Brett Favre is good morning, Grandpa. And that set the stage. But essentially there's a bunch of bullying that goes on Rodgers' behalf. And you have Brett Favre, who's kind of instigating that and, convincing his other teammates to kind of gang up on him a little bit. Rodgers is coming in as the cocky, confident rookie. He's super smart, bragging about his Wonderlic scores. And, it's just an interesting dynamic to see that. And you can see why, Rodgers already had a chip on his shoulder from coming so late in the draft, and then he comes into Green Bay, where everybody and their mother loves Brett Favre, and he's supposed to take over that mantle. So really interesting. I highly recommend reading that. I'll put the link in the description for that. But you even saw it last on Sunday, in which someone asked in the press conference, asked Rodgers if he saw Brett at all, and he goes, no, we didn't get a chance to talk. So I don't think that they're sending each other Christmas cards. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like you can understand in that Rodgers wants to come in, he wants to compete at a high level, he wants to take over the starting position. Favre, of course, we all know what happens with Favre. He doesn't want to give up the position, so there's animosity there right from the get-go. So yeah, read that excerpt. It'll be in the description. Really, really cool to look at. Looking ahead, we have the Bears on Thursday night. It's a short week. We'll have our Bears fan interview later this week on Thursday. It'll be released on the same day. And you really got to hope that this is the game where the offense just explodes. But until that point, I mean, you gotta start doubting their ability at least a little bit. You know, McCarthy and Rodgers seem to acknowledge there is a problem. You just don't know what it is. And I think that's the most annoying thing is that what it looked like on Sunday is that it was Rodgers. Rodgers was missing people. The defense, of course, didn't help anything, but Rodgers was flat out missing throws. He was making poorer decisions, and it really, really cost the team. And again, the weight of the win goes to Rodgers, and the weight of the loss goes to Rodgers because he is the quarterback, and the majority of the time, he's going to take responsibility for either one. And this just, of course, has to be one of those times where he's taking the full responsibility for the loss. Speaking of losses as well, this was a terrible week for me in fantasy. I went 0-5. I was up all day, and then someone had the Lamar Miller on Sunday night, so that was crushing. So yeah, just not a good football week. I'm hoping that it gets rectified in a couple days, though. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about the Brett Favre and Rodgers thing. What do you think is wrong with the offense? Because I honestly, I don't know. I just don't know. But I really want it to get figured out, and this team really needs to get healthy. I think after this Bears game, the fact that they're going to have a little bit more than a week off is really, really good for them. Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or at Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Check out Packcast, Packast, of course, the Tuesday episode on YouTube, and then we released episodes Tuesday and Thursday on SoundCloud and iTunes. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to go cry some more in the corner, but we're still 3-2. We're still in this. No need to give up all hope just yet. We'll see what happens on Thursday. I'll see you on Thursday with the Bears fan. And as always, go Pack Go.